International Girl Child Day aims to promote girl empowerment and, of course, to seek their human rights as the future of our society. Now, as per the United Nations, the current year's objective is to unite adolescent girls with the advocate for their rights, including UN leaders, NGOs, enterprises, and government. The theme for the International Girl Child Day 2023 is Invest in Girls' Right, Our Leadership, Our Well-being. The goal is to make an essential moment that focuses and raises the voices of girls while encouraging those in places of true power to improve their monetary help for girls' privileges. The theme also will serve as an example of a world where women and girls have the valuable chance to impact government strategy, policy, and spending to inform the principles and rules that organizations must follow, and to also decide the needs for new research and development. Well, to further help us understand this better, we're now joined by our guests. First, we have Gilda Chikodzore, a girl child advocate and journalist in Zimbabwe. We also have joining us Omodolapo Jaiyeola, founder, Go Women Africa, and a girl child's education right. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Last but not the least, we have Oluwatoyin Banjo, Program Director, Ideation Hub Africa in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you, Oluwatoyin, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, ladies, let's talk about the theme of this year. I'll start with you, Oluwatoyin. Why exactly do you think that the theme for this year was chosen?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. I believe thus far we have made some significant progress regarding the advocacy for girls' rights and also gender equity across different strata. So I believe the intentionality behind this particular theme is to really just focus on the teenage girls and also enlighten their capacities to, can you hear me please? Enlighten their capacity to lead significantly across any sector or sphere they find themselves in. And that's why the theme is strategically directed at leadership and also the well-being of the girl child. So beyond also advocating that the girl child leads significantly across any sphere, we must also focus on the awesome well-being of the girl child.
All right, thank you for that, Oluwatoyin. Also, Gilda, these challenges that we talk about that the girl child faces every year, these challenges are not new, but we still see women, especially, for example, women in Zimbabwe fighting for inclusion, women and girls in DR Congo getting raped and even fighting for their lives. So what exactly is the essence of this celebration at all?
Thank you for your question. I believe that it's very necessary that we still celebrate. I mean, just because we still have troubles does not mean that there hasn't been any progress at all that has been done as far as advancing women's rights. I mean, now we have women leading organizations, we have you anchoring these programs. And I believe even the very fact that we have a day that is dedicated to celebrating everything female, from the girl children to the women, the awesome women that they grow to be, is definitely something worth celebrating.
All right, thank you for that, and very valid point. Also, Omodolapo, would you say that there are any changes so far, especially in terms of inclusion for the women, in your own opinion?
Of course, there are so many dimensions of changes that has been achieved over time since we started cheerleading the rights of the girl child, which is the reason why Hilda mentioned that we have you here representing the girl child and anchoring this program. And also several organizations across the world are currently ensuring that every of their activities are surrounding giving the girl child the access to the basic needs and ensuring that our fundamental human rights are not being denied, such as education. We have an increase in the number of girl childs that are being allowed to go to school today, compared to the ones that are being forced into early marriage back in the day. So we are making progress daily, and that is the reason why we're celebrating today.
Right, thank you for that. Back to you, Oluwatoyin. Now, we agree that some sectors are seen as male-dominated, and for a long time, even some women saw it that way. For example, politics, technology, medicine, a lot of sectors. How would we rate the level at which the women themselves are interested in exploring these fields in recent times? Oluwatoyin. Oluwatoyin, are you there? All right, I think we're having network issues with Oluwatoyin, so I think I'm going to direct that question at you, Gilda. Just talking about the level at which women are willing to participate, as we know that some sectors are seen as male-dominated, like technology, medicine, politics, but even the women themselves sometimes see these sectors as male-dominated. So do you think that in recent times, more women are willing to explore their abilities in these fields?
I would say to some degree, yes, because now we are seeing a lot of documentaries on women taking over careers like engineering, female pilots being celebrated. But at the same time, when you look at areas like politics, for example, we still have challenges where it's not so much that women are not willing to participate per se, but there is an intentional stifling, like a choking of their voice whenever they attempt to actually participate meaningfully. And so there's also been like an interesting shift where instead of like people outrightly saying, no, women can't do this, they're like, no, the women have been making noise. They want seats in parliament, give them seats in parliament, like allocate a certain portion of seats to the women. But then when the women are then in there and they're making the points that are valid to their existence, or speak to the experiences women, they're not taken as seriously. And an example of this is in Zimbabwe, where a couple of years back, we had a female parliamentarian storm through. We've been talking about sanitary ware and how the price is just ridiculous, and it needs to be more affordable, more accessible, so that people enjoy safe menstrual periods. And in this year, people are still having to fight for that. And you have women then having to resort to spaces where situations where they have to storm in parliament with a bloody pad, it speaks to how women's participation is being stifled by not really being taken seriously.
Right. All right. Thank you for that. Oluwatoyin, do we have you now? Can you please confirm your audio?
Yes, please. I'm back. Sorry about the network.
That's fine. Now, we understand that there's also a high rate of violence against women. What can we say that the government can do in that area?
Thank you so much for that question. I believe one of the ways to reduce the violence against women and children will be primarily through education, empowering the girl child across the different strata of the educational levels. Secondly, the government also has to institute or enact policies that also protect the girl child against violence. We know that here in Nigeria, typically, we have had agencies who continually protect violence against the girl child in terms of rape cases, in terms of domestic violence experienced by women in their marriages, and whereby women can actually come out and not feel afraid to voice out challenges they may be facing in their homes or the violent situations they may have encountered. So we have had agencies and bodies coming together and really enacting policies. So we're pushing for more policies that protect the girl child and also ensuring that across the different levels of education, there's the right educational system put in place, not just to empower the girl child, but also to educate the male child on their own responsibilities and ownership to protecting the girl child and not being violent towards them. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. Now, Omodolapo, we also know that women are naturally more disadvantaged in our societies, let's put it that way, because as time goes on, no matter the passion, nature will always kick in, nature and its responsibility. And most times, you have to literally halt your life and, take up responsibilities, caring for children at home and all that. What can be done in that instance? Because a lot of times, most women just, look at that as their future. The future is to be a housewife at the end of the day. So they don't exactly want to further their education. They don't exactly want to grow career-wise.
Well, to be very factual, the responsibilities that are being put on the girl child, or let's say generally the female, is a lot. And when we want to say the family, that's a full-time job on its own. That's a full-time job that we always have to merge and still try to have a career while we're still trying to have a family. So what I'm going to say or advise for this kind of situations, especially seeing that a lot of women are getting informed about how to become leaders in their respective fields and also how to take up positions in the political space. How do you do this and still have a family? That is where having a balance comes in. To be honest, it's not always very easy. Being a mom myself, I always have to battle with the mental health of still wanting to be shown, be known, and also still wanting to ensure that my child is well catered for. So for this, I would want to say that this is where we seek the assistance of the people around us to be able to ensure that while we're still trying to have a family and be there for them, we still want to go after the things that we have in mind to do for ourselves, such as being known, such as being seen and being known in the society. So having a balance actually works, and ensuring that you have people around you to actually battle the mental stress of having a family and still going after your career is very, very important. So, and also I would want to say educating yourself about and getting the right information also works, because when you have the right information, you would know how to be able to merge being a working mom and also going after your career at the same time. So it's important to have the access to the information that ensures you that you have the right balance while you're doing that, because truly it can be mentally challenging to show up when you have to, where every time you have to, and also still cater as a mom or as a female. Sometimes you're not even the mother yet, but then as a sister, as a woman in that family. So it's important that you learn to have a balance, the right balance, because I don't see any answers anywhere that anyone is readily going to give to you as the way out. We are always going to be the mother. We are always going to be that female child that has a lot of responsibilities, and that is where the male factor comes in. Learning to share your responsibilities with your partner or even with the male children around you. So it's important that we have a balance, and that's where the gender equality comes in, so that you're not just shouldering all the responsibilities as a woman. You're ensuring that you are having the right balance with whoever you're with at that moment, while you're sharing the family responsibilities, so that you can still be able to go ahead with the career that you desire to pursue.
All right, thank you so much for that. Also, Gilda, people believe that women are always celebrated. There's Women's Day, International Day for the Girl Child, there's Mother's Day and all those days. But it's ironic because a lot still believe that even regardless of all these celebrations, women are still treated as minorities. So what's the point of a celebration in the first place? What do you think about that?
I think that is, again, it's still worth celebrating, because especially seeing as the amount of progress that women have made in terms of careers, in terms of the changes. We have female inventors. Women have been able to take up higher offices while also having to endure some of these problems, some of these challenges that we're saying that they still have to go through. You have before you are your own individual, you're expected to be a loving sister, you're expected to be a responsible daughter, you're meant to take care of the house and all of that. And I honestly do not think that women are in actual fact celebrated enough. Yeah, there is a lot to celebrate about womanhood, about girlhood, and it's essential that there are even more stories that are told that come from a positive, that like tell of these stories in positive light of the women who have actually made it, especially seeing as we still have young girls out there who still need inspiration, who are still enduring. Their struggles may be different from the ones that we had to face because of the progress that has been made, but there's still struggles nonetheless. And they are still in need of this beacon of light, this message that they can do it and they do deserve to be celebrated.
Right. All right. Thank you for that, Gilda. Now, coming to you, Oluwatoyin, there are still some barbaric practices like the female genital mutilation, breast ironing, child marriages that we face in our society, even up to present day. What do you think is being done to stop that? And do you think that we're putting in enough effort in that regard?
Thank you so much for that question. I believe that, of course, we're not yet there, but significantly, some progress has been made in that. We know that there are some African countries where they still practice some of these barbaric practices. And of course, we know that across Africa in general, there are legislations being instituted, laws are being enacted to fight against these practices. Furthermore, we know that education is being weaponized as a powerful tool to educate the girl child and also enable them to delay marriage. So when they are educated, they understand that they can also make these decisions by themselves and they're not influenced by their parents or being forced into marriage. Furthermore, we know that there is also ongoing community engagement. There are many agencies, NGOs, advocacy bodies and groups who are also driving significant community engagements across these different regions and to ensure that different community leaders understand the negative effect or adverse effects of these practices and also fight against them. Then on the global scale, we know that globally there are voices just like myself, yourself, and the very amazing women who are in the studio, also sharing and hearing their voices on issues like this to just again fight against such practices. So on a global scale, we know that a lot of people are lending their voices globally, and this also is ensuring that such practices are totally extinguished or totally just put away. And I believe that Africa in general is making some significant improvements in this area. Areas that have been significantly affected by such practices, such as the Democratic Republic of Congo. Such places are, being taken over by community agencies and NGOs, and who are driving education and advocacy within those regions. So I believe a lot has been done, though we are not yet there, but we are making significant progress. Thank you.
Right. Omodolapo, we also have the issue of teenage pregnancy, and it's become very rampant in our society. But I think the question here will be, how do you balance? Because a lot of times you see people getting pregnant and getting disowned by their parents, getting stigmatized and all. Not to encourage teenage pregnancy, but how do we balance teenage pregnancy and the stigmatization?
Thank you so much for that question. First of all, I'm a single mom, and I would love to use myself as an example here for this question that you had asked. So, when we have situations where women have a child either out of wedlock or have this so-called teenage pregnancy, what we want to first of all do or to carry out is to ensure that they are being accepted. When we most times it cannot be avoided, totally avoided, no matter how much we put out educations out there, what will be. So when, like you said, it's rampant, and when it happens, what do we do? So I would encourage that when it happens, the families should ensure that they accept this child, they accept this girls, and put them back right on track to ensure that they start to mount on the right success that they would have done if they weren't pregnant. And using myself as an example, when I had my child, I don't think I waited for anything. I went straight back to school and started, doing everything I would have done. So if there are any teenage girls out there who are pregnant and they had their child very early, I want to say that the best thing for them is to ensure that education is not delayed or being put away, because that is when the real havoc happens. That's when you stop the education, when you stop everything or stop giving them access to what they should have because they got pregnant. That is where they start becoming redundant. That's when you have actually put them out of the community or the society where they need to be or grow. So
all right.
I would say that they are still very open to change. They are still very open to growth if you actually accept them and help them to nurture their children.
All right, thank you so much. And finally, Gilda, very, very quickly, what do you think from a general perspective that this day aims to achieve, especially for the girl child? Very quickly.
I'm going to speak to, it would be quicker if I spoke to what this theme is specifically speaking to as far as I'm concerned, like this year's theme for the International Day of the Girl Child. It's meant to not only celebrate how far we've come or what makes the beautiful parts of what makes girlhood and womanhood. It's also meant to speak to the need inward, to foster and cultivate a mindset and an attitude within the girl child so they can avail themselves, so they can know that they can actually take up opportunities as they come, opportunities that are meant to realize their potential, to make their lives as better, as best as they want their lives to be ultimately.
All right, thank you so much. On this note, ladies, I would like to say a big thank you. Oluwatoyin Banjo, Program Director, Ideation Hub Africa, Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us. Gilda Chikodzore, a girl child advocate and journalist in Zimbabwe. Thank you as well. Omodolapo Jaiyeola, the founder, Gold Women Africa, and Girl Child's Education Rights Advocate as well. Thank you so much for joining us on Village Square Africa to discuss the International Girl Child Day.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
A pleasure as well. All right, this is where we call it a wrap on Village Square Africa. Thank you for watching. Do stay tuned as the news comes up next. I'm Blessings Mosugu.